Welcome to Jewish World Weekly on I-24 News. I'm Emily Francis. Each week, we're going to focus on stories, issues, and personalities of Jewish interest here in Israel and throughout the global Jewish community. And we're starting with our top 5 items in the Jewish world this week, presented by Nicole Zedek. Nicole.
Thanks, Emily. Here are your top 5 items in the Jewish world this week. An investigation by a U.S. Senate panel uncovered strong links between the Swiss bank, Credit Suisse, and the Nazis during World War II. The Senate report cites tens of thousands of documents claiming senior Nazi members stored money in Credit Suisse accounts. The bank had previously denied any relations with the Nazi Party or its members. Joe Biden has awarded Jewish businessman and philanthropist George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the highest civilian honor in the U.S. His son Alex picked up the award on behalf of George, who donated billions of dollars to left-leaning and Jewish charities and has been the target of right-wing, often anti-Semitic accusations. Other notable Jewish recipients include businessman David Rubenstein and fashion designer Ralph Lauren. A representative of the Syrian interim government met up with the head of Syria's tiny Jewish community, giving reassurances over the country's future. Mohammed Badawrieh, an aide to Ahmed al-Sharaa, told the country's Jewish community, quote, "There's no more fear, there's no more secret police. We are a democratic state." Right now, there are only 9 Jews believed to be left in Syria. It was a big night for Jewish actors and films at the Golden Globe Awards. Most notably, the Best Actor in a Drama award went to Adrien Brody for his role as a Holocaust survivor in The Brutalist, beating other nominees, including Timothée Chalamet, who played Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown. The Brutalist also won Best Film and Best Director. And finally, Jews around the world celebrated the close of Hanukkah, the Festival of Light. Candles were lit outside the historically significant Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. Ukraine's Jewish President Volodymyr Zelensky lit candles with members of Ukraine's Jewish community. And Israeli soccer star Manor Solomon led a ceremony by the field in Leeds' Ellen Road Stadium. Now, a very happy Hanukkah to all those who celebrated. Those are your top items in the Jewish world this week. Back to you, Emily.
Just as anti-Semitic violence is sprouting up all over Holland, including an attack on Israelis and Jews at an Israeli soccer match in Amsterdam in November, now a Dutch war in court database has listed as many as 425,000 suspected Nazi collaborators during German occupation during World War II. Joining us with more on this chilling discovery is I-24 News correspondent Owen Alterman. Hello, Owen.
Hello.
So being here, again, it's still chilling to think about what had happened and the extent of the violence in November. But now to uncover this information, a country not that big, 500,000 sounds like a lot of people.
You're absolutely right. Emily, look, I look back at what the population of the Netherlands was, 1940, 1945. This is about 5% of the population. 1 out of every 20 people living in the Netherlands collaborated with the Nazis.
Wow.
Think about that.
And it's interesting that it's taken this long to be able to reveal that. We know, of course, the story of Anne Frank. It shouldn't be such a surprise. Why take so long, you think, to uncover and release this information?
Well, from what I gather, I think 2 reasons. Number 1, obviously, the sensitivity, right?
Yeah.
And number 2, there are data privacy laws, data protection laws in the EU that are complicated and sometimes problematic. And even now, the information about people who are still alive, obviously, not so many of them at this point, right?
Yeah.
But the data about some of those who are still alive are still protected by those rules. People who have passed away, it's not. So part of this, I think, was the passage of time so that those regulations wouldn't get in the way.
Right. And some of those still alive, in a way, have probably been hiding from that. So in a way,
and just think about the families.
Yeah.
Think about the families. I mean, these are people's grandparents.
This about their grandparents, yeah.
Great-grandparents that are now going to be exposed. Now, this isn't as if this information's on the internet. You have to actually make a request to go in and to look and to search. But the information is out there for the public, Emily. Wow. Researchers can go in, individuals can go in, and people can find out. About 5% of the population of the Netherlands, 1 out of every 20 Dutch people, collaborated with the Nazis. 100,000 Jews, 75% of the Netherlands Jews died in the Holocaust, of course, including Anne Frank, but certainly not only her.
It's just so chilling to think about it. And as what we saw in Amsterdam, it was really like what people described as a pogrom. It was brutal, in the street violence. But, you know, given that, we're seeing all over Europe, around the world, there are still Holocaust deniers. There are still some people alive to be able to tell the tale. But how do we fix this misinformation?
Well, obviously there's denial, but the bigger problem that experts talk about is Holocaust distortion, right? To say it wasn't so bad, or what Israel is doing as a Holocaust. Here's an example. Or in a lot of countries, especially in Eastern Europe, where a lot of the national heroes who stood up, let's say, to the Soviet Union in a place, or the Russians, right, in places like Lithuania or Ukraine, they're national heroes because they stood up to the Russians or the Soviets, but a lot of times those same people, Emily, in one way or another worked with the Nazis. So there's a lot of sensitivity in these countries around these issues, because on one hand, these are real national heroes among their publics, but on the other hand, Jewish organizations in Israel make demands. But again, even we have to balance needs, right, and interests. How much does Israel insist on taking account of Holocaust and confronting Holocaust history in those countries versus having to work with these countries in the here and now,
so
inside the European Union or in Ukraine with its important position abroad? There are a lot of important questions, but coming back to the Netherlands, we'll say it again, 1 out of every 20 Dutch people collaborated with the Nazis.
That's just, it's just
staggering.
It is staggering, and I'm sure it's just as bad in other countries. Should they release similar databases? It's
absolutely. Along with the many righteous among the nations, along with the many righteous among the nations, we have to salute.
Of course, 100%. Thank you very much, Owen Alterman. Thank you again.
For sure.
The world's oldest Olympic champion, dubbed the Queen of Gymnastics, passed away last week at a Budapest hospital. Agnes Keleti narrowly escaped Nazi persecution, yet she triumphed in the face of adversity. She went on to become one of the most successful female Jewish athletes in Olympic history. Here's more from I-24 News correspondent Jody Natelovitz.
Agnes Keleti, a Holocaust survivor and the oldest living Olympic medal winner, has died aged 103 after being hospitalized with pneumonia in December. Forced off her gymnastics team in 1941 because of her Jewish ancestry, Keleti went into hiding in the Hungarian countryside, where she survived by assuming a false identity.
I was Agnes Klein. Piroska Juhasz was a maid, and I swapped my clothes and papers. Of course, she didn't need papers. They just had to look at her to know she was a good little Christian girl.
While hiding in the countryside, she kept training in secret on the banks of the river Danube in her free time, overcoming the loss of her father and other relatives in the Holocaust to become one of the most successful Jewish Olympic athletes.
I was competing not because I liked it, but I did it because I wanted to see the world.
Resuming her career after the war, Keleti was set to compete at the 1948 London Olympics, but a last-minute ankle injury dashed her hopes. 4 years later, she made her Olympic debut at the 1952 Helsinki Games, winning a gold medal in the floor exercise as well as a silver and 2 bronzes. In 1956, she became the most successful athlete at the Melbourne Olympics, winning 4 gold and 2 silver medals. While becoming the oldest gold medalist in gymnastics history at age 35 in Melbourne, the Soviet Union invaded Hungary after an unsuccessful anti-Soviet uprising. Keleti stayed in Australia and sought political asylum, immigrating to Israel the following year, where she coached the Israeli Olympic gymnastics team until the 1990s.
These 100 years feel to me like 60. I live well and I love life.
Speaking of sports, a new sports program is turning dreams into reality for the most promising Jewish basketball players around the world. The Maccabi World Union has launched the inaugural year-long Maccabi Israel Sports Experience, where these young men get a chance to do what they love most while also getting the experience of a lifetime. Here's more in my next report from Kfar Maccabiah. These promising young athletes are shooting for their future.
My name is Alex Keleti. I'm 17. I'm from Sydney, Australia.
My name is Jonathan Joel. I'm 24 years old and I'm from Cranston, Rhode Island.
Levi Bano, and I'm from Montreal, Canada.
And this team is already in sync, only a few weeks since beginning a special gap year basketball program called Maccabiah Israel Sports Experience.
When I came to Israel, it kind of like opened my eyes to like people are like risking their lives, you know, to fight for this country, and people are doing like extremely important things. So for me to play basketball, it's like a privilege.
I think Israel is the best country in the world. Like, it's amazing. I love the people here, the culture, obviously the food, you know, I love the shawarma here. It's a weak spot in my heart.
It's a dream come true for this dream team. They get to live on the Maccabiah World Union's campus in Ramat Gan, and they get to experience all that Israel has to offer.
The bigger focus is to be able to play long-term in Israel, and Israel has professional sports opportunities unlike anywhere else in the world. So we're giving them a foot in the door to those opportunities.
My senior year, we ended up taking the team to the playoffs. It was the first time in 5 years, so that was kind of a big accomplishment. And then from there, in college.
Point guard Jonathan Joel credits his dedicated mom for keeping him on track.
She raised my brother and I by herself. You know, she was strict, but it was for the best. She's amazing. She's done all this by herself.
Levi Banon grew up in Montreal, the son of Chabad emissaries. His talent stood out, and he left the nest during high school.
In 10th grade, I moved to Los Angeles, and I went to school, Valley Torah, where we had like the best Jewish team in the country for 2 years. We won like the national championship for like Jewish schools.
For Alex, athleticism runs in the family. His mom competed in javelin in the Sydney Olympics. He also has talent in the field sports, but says since October 7th, anti-Semitism has infected the sports world for him.
I've known this guy for years. Every single conversation his eyes are darting down to my chest and seeing my Magen David. Next events we have, he gets his friend to come watch him compete. He gets him wearing a hoodie with the Israel landmass on it, but with like a Palestinian flag like in the middle of it. When I'm competing in my event, discus throw, you start facing the back. So, and there's like a net. So I'm looking out the back, and he got his friend to stand in my line of vision when I'm trying to like attempt a throw. He's pointing at him and he's doing this, like go stand there. And like I'm throwing that way and I'm facing this way. And I'm looking out the back of the circle, and I can just see the guy standing there with like a massive like hoodie trying to get in my head.
Free Palestine!
Similarly, Alex's father was the victim of violence from pro-Palestinian mobs the day the Sydney Opera House was lit up in blue and white.
I'm not going to say exactly what people were saying because not very nice language, but you know, this is this, Jews, 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 like terrible stuff. And my dad just like responds completely calmly and just says like whatever they were saying about Jews, he would say about Hamas. And that obviously got a response of him being shoved, spat on. He got his Magen David completely ripped off.
The sky's the limit for them here in Israel, which is why many have long-term dreams of playing here professionally.
I wanted to continue playing, but like only in Israel. Kind of just to get in with the culture here, learn about my Jewish heritage. In terms of basketball, long term is definitely playing for a contract for next year.
Israel?
Yes, I love to stay here and play professionally here.
Shalom from Israel. Am Yisrael Chai.
Changing gears as more and more descendants of Sephardic Jews forcibly converted during the Inquisition are discovering the truth 500 years later, but it's churning up deep emotions for many. But did you know many also includes scores of Native Americans from the United States, including our next guest, Elizabeth Kincaid Fried, a Native American Jewish activist and founder of Jewish. And we are so happy to have you here in Israel.
Yay,
Welcome, girl.
Thank you so much.
We met by Zoom a few years ago, and your dream was to end up being here, and here you are, which is a very interesting tie-in, growing up in the United States in West Virginia, thinking all these years you're 100% or nearly majorly Native American. Explain your journey.
So growing up in West Virginia, if anyone asked me what I am, I would just respond Black, white, and Native. That's, you know. Then I got into genetic genealogy life-shattering. So I'm 8 ethnicities, belong to 14 genetic groups. Hello. It's been an unbelievable and random journey, but it's all by providential design.
Nothing is random.
Yeah.
Of course. So, with that, there was a curiosity, and I think we've done a lot of stories on the descendants for hundreds of years, having to still be afraid of the Inquisition. People forget it wasn't a one-time thing. So over generations, this identity was kind of being hidden, and things you now realize are obvious. In your case, going to Catholic school.
Yes.
What was the feeling there, and was there just something you felt your soul was burning at that time?
Well, going to Catholic school and attending Mass weekly and then more often during certain holidays, there was a familiarity, but also a disconnect that I wasn't part of what was happening, the pageantry. And my mother told me, typically around back-to-school shopping time, we're not like them, you're not one of them, don't pray with them. So that always had me more curious. So I know that I didn't necessarily listen all the time. But even in my research, I could see where a male was sent to be a priest representing the family to keep them hidden and safe from the Inquisition, or women were sent to convents just to show outwardly that you're devout, you're a devout Catholic. So just untangling all of that is what I'm here to do.
Well, is quite a process, and you realize there's more discoveries. I mean, there's so many interesting customs, unwittingly passing down. I'm sure for your mom, we're not like them. She probably heard from her mother, who heard from her grandmother, and whatnot. So when you did find out your Sephardic Jewish ancestry, I remember some of it was the Dominican Republic, correct? So how did you feel? I imagine, one, exciting, but at the same time, confusing that you've been, in a way, lied to, or many like you. History has kind of whitewashed over these facts.
Whitewashing. Well, I have a very safe, homogenous American name, Elizabeth Kincaid, so I fit in all of these spaces. Getting my DNA results and seeing these Sephardic surnames, Diaz, De La Rosa, Sanchez, Tejeda, just, hello, who am I? So once I dealt with really digesting that there's something disjointed, like I have not been told the entire truth, and researching and seeing I'm not alone. There are millions of us worldwide. The frustration and the anger that this was stolen from us, it's still being hidden from us, and that there is a real death grip to keep families' genealogies by the Catholic Church away from those who are finding out, hey, these family practices or epigenetic markers showing like families passing down responses to stress and triggers. Here to right a historical wrong, and I owe an enormous debt of gratitude to you, my husband Marvin Freed, to Ashley Perry, family name Perez, and Jeannie Milgram. Without all of you in this portrait,
thank you so much.
I would not be here doing what I'm doing.
This is a time that many, Isaiah, this is a time that was, predicted. So, with that, you started your own nonprofit, Indie Junis. Now you're here indefinitely trying to make Aliyah. Now you're waiting for your dog to get the proper paperwork. It's the only reason. But what is that pull? What is that calling for you to take it and come all the way here for it to feel authentic?
I'm sure there's some archaic word that would describe it. I just don't have it right now. It is definitely a pull. I believe it's definitely visceral. It's ancient. I haven't pinpointed it yet. I don't know if I ever will. I believe so, but I don't know. It's when someone is lying to you and you know you're not hearing the truth, but when you finally hear the truth, you're like, oh, that's what it is. So that's the discovery. So every step of the way, it's like, yes, this is it. No, this is not. Oh, keep going, keep going.
And now here you are.
Here I am.
Here you are, living amongst all of us. Welcome. We love having you here. And Elizabeth, thank you so much for sharing your story, and keep up the bravery, and much appreciated.
Thank
Elizabeth
you.
Kincaid Fried. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's hard to believe that the timeless icon Elvis Presley would turn 90 this week if he hadn't died so young. Behind Elvis's larger-than-life persona was a real human being pondering the meaning of life. And his dear friend and so-called rabbi, as well as his hairdresser, Larry Geller, is keeping Elvis's legacy alive. He is the one who introduced Elvis to Jewish spirituality, leading him to not only don a Jewish chai necklace, but also to put a Magen David on his mother's grave. His mother, Gladys, who held a secret that she only revealed to young Elvis, that they come from an uninterrupted maternal line of Jewish women. We are now so happy to have Larry Geller himself here with us. Larry, let's start with how you got started. You were an Angelino in the height of Hollywood, doing hair for the likes of Brando and Cary Grant, and then all of a sudden you're in Elvis's bathroom. Tell us what happened.
So, I worked in Hollywood. We opened the very first men's hairstyling salon in America. And one day in 1964, my phone rang at the salon, and it was Elvis's people inviting me to go up to do Elvis's hair. Elvis was the celebrity of celebrities. I was so excited. So I followed directions, went up to Elvis's home. I walk into his front door, through his front door, and he walks up to me, shakes his hand, my hand. He says, "Come on, man, let's go into my bathroom. We'll talk, and you do my hair." I said, "Great." And I began to do his hair. It took me about 35, 40 minutes. I spritzed it, and I'm looking at him in the mirror, and I'm saying, what do you think, Elvis? He said, "Ah, beautiful, beautiful." He spun around in the chair, and he put his finger right in my face and said, "Who are you? Who are you, Larry Geller? What are you really all about? What are you really into?" I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. Here I am in the bathroom with Elvis Presley, the king of music and a movie star, the legend of legends. And he's asking me something so personal. And I said, "Well, Elvis, you know what I do. This is what I do for a living. But I hear what you're asking me. What's more important to me, more than anything else, is my search for God." He says, "Whoa, man, wait, no. You have no idea, Larry. Please keep on talking, because this is what I secretly think about. This is what I wonder." And I did. I told him about my background and why I got to where I was in life. And he told me about his stillborn twin brother. And he said to me, "Why me, Larry? Why me? Why did I survive and not my twin brother? What if he would have made it, not me? Would you be doing his hair right now?" This conversation led into a very profound conversation between the two of us, and we just clicked. And after 2 more hours, I said, "Elvis, look, Peter Sellers is waiting for me. I got to come back to the salon." He said, "Whoa, wait, I have a better idea. Why don't you quit your job and start working for me full time? What do you think?" And that's how it all began with me and Elvis.
Recently, we did an interview on the author of the book, The Jewish World of Elvis Presley, Roselle Chartok, but she's delving into so much. The Jewish community of Memphis embracing young Elvis when he was penniless, just had a dream. He even grew up as the Shabbos helper for a rabbi and his family who lived upstairs. Explain more about these influences and why they were so impactful for him.
When Elvis first came on the scene, this was like 1956. Everything is Elvis. Gold record after gold record. He's the king of music. He is a movie star. He's on tour in San Francisco. And at that time, a man by the name of Rabbi Fruchter, who lived upstairs from the Presleys in Memphis, where Elvis was a Shabbos goy. And he always was very sweet to Elvis, gave him little candies, patted him on the head, and was very encouraging about Elvis being a singer. And when Elvis cut his first record, he didn't have a record player to play it on. Rabbi Fruchter gave him that record, his own record player. So Elvis is on tour in San Francisco at a place called the Cow Palace, packed with people. The media was there. There's a press conference, and Elvis walks out, and Elvis looks, and the commentator asks him a question, and he said, wait, see that man back there? That's my rabbi.
Well, many have been saying for decades that Elvis lives, and even you said that he told you essentially, I am not dead, I live on. But if he didn't actually die young, he would be turning 90 this week, which is really just incredible to think about and to wrap our heads around. But where do you think he'd be in his journey if he were still alive today?
At age 42, he was very ill, as we know. He was doing some drugs, and his nutrition was the worst, and never exercised. He would have gotten healthy. He would have been here. And I truly believe he would have gotten so deep in Judaism, and he would have been producing movies, and he was a humanitarian. And breaks my heart to even think about it. 90th birthday. Wow.
Larry Geller, thank you so much for sharing your touching story, and also good luck on the special Elvis project that you are working on.
Emily, thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you in Israel. And this is so meaningful to me personally. And thank you again. And hopefully we'll do this again sometime.
Thank you all so much for watching Jewish World Weekly. I'm Emily Francis, and we sure hope you enjoyed this episode. And until we see you again next week, I hope whatever you all do, you will feel inspired. Shalom from Jaffa.